Welcome to the Deadlock Academy. This is the full Mirage guide. Mirage is the newest Deadlock hero that just has been released 3 days ago. I've been grinding games with him non-stop at High MMR and will give you the rundown on how to play him properly. I'll start by explaining his basic abilities, followed up by a lot of useful tips and tricks surrounding his kit. After that, I'll tell you how to dominate lanes with him and showing you guys some very strong synergies that he has with other heroes, followed up by talking about his strengths in mid to late game. I'll end the video with my item and skill build recommendation for now. I have chaptered this video so you can skip to the relevant parts for you, but let's start with his ability breakdown. His first ability, Tornado, makes Mirage transform into a tornado and dash forward. It damages and lifts opponents on its way, keeping them rooted in position for a short period. It also gives you significant bullet evasion for 3.5 seconds afterwards. This spell is a solid mobility tool with which you can not only go in aggressively but also dodge a lot of opposing spells since you're invulnerable during the Sandstorm dash. Fire Beetles, his second spell, gives him 4 Fire Beetles, which are quick projectiles that you can fire at opponents and creeps. They steal max health from the targets and reduces their bullet resistance. The amount of health stolen is tripled against enemy heroes. This effect only works once on each enemy, so don't fire all 4 Beetles at the same guy. This ability helps with pushing the lane, sustaining, and makes Mirage very weak jungling capabilities a little stronger. His third ability is Jin's Mark. It's a passive that applies an increasing multiplier on the target you hit with your gun. When the multiplier on the target expires, you reach the max multiplier, or you activate the active ability, it's consumed and the target suffers spirit damage. You can increase the multiplier once after every 2.5 seconds or 2 seconds later on in the game when you have it maxed out. It's a great tool for poking in longer fights as the range at which you hit the enemy doesn't matter. So as long as you hit your opponent once every 3 seconds, you can win most long-range trades over time. His ultimate ability, Traveler, teleports you to any teammate or opponent visible to you on the minimap. It is the first global teleport ability in the game and enables Mirage to split push effectively, escaping situations that wouldn't be possible for any other hero in the game. So you can take more exposed farm on the side lanes, enabling your teammates to take safer farm on the map easily or push objectives elsewhere, as you can practically be present on both sides at once. It also allows him to gank or counter ganks effectively when opponents don't always expect it. Let's go over to the more advanced tips and tricks. Tornado. The further into the animation you're hitting an opponent, the more time you have to shoot them while they are stuck. This matters a lot in the laning phase as it gives you a couple of extra headshots for free. If you are trying to escape a dicey situation, you can hit targets that are right behind you without actually going through them. Very often, it is worth it to dash into them 180 to the other side and tornado out to get maximum distance while lifting them with a sandstorm. A TP escape could look something like this, for example. The tornado should oftentimes be used before TPing if you're trying to escape from someone. The bullet evasion is easy to forget about, but it can save your life while you're channeling your teleport, since you're stuck in position as an easy headshot target. The tornado is also great at claiming the Rejuvenator. You can tornado in and punch it right after, and that can work wonders against unsuspecting opponents. One of the most useful applications for the tornado is dodging opposing abilities during your invincibility with the tornado. Since you're invulnerable for so long, it's pretty easy to do. You can, for example, dodge Abrams charge, Abrams ult, so basically his entire kit, Infernus ult, Wraith's ult. For this one, it's important to know that you dodge it by tornadoing close before it hits you. Doesn't matter if you go away or towards it, as it will disappear when it hits your tornado starting point if you're during the animation. Simply dashing through it too early will result in the ult still following you after. You can also dodge Warden Cage, Yamato 1, Ivy Stun, 7 Stun, Bebop Bomb, and so on and so forth. I think you get the idea. I even dodged the Lady Geist ult with it once. She still got my HP, but I didn't lose any at least. Fire Scarabs. The way the Fire Scarabs work is that you stay on the HP you're at after your max HP buff ends, as long as it's not over the maximum, in which case you would just be full HP. So you don't end up losing back the HP you gained as long as you're not full HP, which means that the spell is practically a net heal. As an example for this, if I'm 1 HP out of 590 maximum HP and I steal 180 max HP from opponents, my max HP goes from 590 to 770, while my HP goes from 1 to 181. When the spell expires, my max HP goes back down from 770 to 590, so it reverts, while the active HP would just stay at 181. This means that you should use it as often as possible in lane, as it's great for trading. Also, don't underestimate the healing you get from the creeps. Try to hit your opponent first, but hit all the laning creeps right after, as it will heal you even more, and those are easy targets to hit. Even just hitting 4 lane stage creeps heals you for 120 health, which is pretty sick. Don't forget that the spell also works on towers, as they count as creeps too, so that's an extra easy target to hit with the scarabs. Using it on enemy creeps will push a lane almost always very quickly, so whenever you do want to push a lane, use it on the creeps right away. Almost no other hero can kill waves that quickly during the laning phase, as it also gives them negative bullet resist. Start the jungle camps always with this spell, as it will also lower the bullet resist of the creeps. Jin's Mark. Don't forget that your passive reveals your opponents, so when your teammates lose track of someone during a chase, activating it can help out a lot. Also in late game, if you have something like Ricochet and you have a lot of opponents that you have hit, it will reveal all of them at once if you actually activate it. Against jungle creeps, you can always use it before finishing them. I personally forgot to activate it most of the time when I started out playing Mirage and just killed them with my gun instead, which lost me some time. This spell does work with Surge of Power, so you can pretty much off cooldown use the boost it gives you if you want to play Spirit Mirage. You do need to have at least one active mark though, otherwise it doesn't work. Traveler. You always face the same direction as you do when activating the ability, so if you teleport facing the west side of the map, you will once again face the west at the point of which you teleport to. Oftentimes try to dash out of line of sight around the corner before teleporting. You can use Divine Barrier, Metal Skin, or Unstoppable before teleporting out to make your escape safer. Don't TP to the center of the fight always. There's a clear indicator where you will teleport in for your enemies while you're doing it. Most of the time it's more useful to go to a teammate that is a little bit safer. It's great to let your teammates know that you're ready to teleport whenever, so they can call it if they need help. The most important thing with the ultimate is to be aware what threatens your teleport when split pushing. Only real stuns can cancel your channel, which means that only about half the heroes in the roster even have an ability that can cancel your TP, and for most it's only their ultimate. Here are the abilities that can actually cancel your teleport. Abrams Charge, Abrams Ult, Dynamo Ult, Great Talon Ult, Infernus Ult, Ivy Stoneform, Lash Ult, Mon Krill Ult, Paradox Swap, but only if timed well. 7 stun, but you can reactively ult if you're quick. Viscous ult, Wraith ult, and the item knockdown. Silences can also be just as scary, as they can prevent you from clicking both Tornado or Ultimate. Many of these stuns are either dodgeable with Sandstorm or hard to get to you with in time. If you teleport before or right as the 7 stun connects, for example, the TP will go through. Likewise, if someone uses the item knockdown reactively after you just started the TP, there's a good chance it's too late as well, since the animation is almost as long as the channeling time, and if you use it beforehand, you can dodge it with a tornado. Unless I forgot about something, everything else does in fact not stop your teleport. So Lash's Ground Strike, for example, Haze's Sleep Dart, B-Box Hook or Uppercut, Paradox's Carabine, Viscous's Puddle Punch, any form of root like the Warden Cage, Great Talent Trap, etc. also don't work. The interaction with Vindicta's tether is a bit weird, as it bugged me to in between where I teleported to and where I was tethered to. I think it tries to bring you back to where you are tethered to after the teleport goes through until the tether stops. So one thing you should always do as the game loads in is to check your opponent's heroes and be aware of who can cancel your teleport, as well as if or how you can avoid that. This, combined with checking for items whenever you have time or are dead during the game, will help you recognize threats to you and help you make smarter decisions throughout the match. Alright, let's continue with the laning stage tips. Mirage is a very strong laner. His gun has a good fallout range and his spells are phenomenal to trade with. I believe that leveling up his second ability for 1 point is the most important right away, so you can use it to trade with it practically every wave and also push waves easily. I also believe that Mirage is especially strong in duo lanes with partners that can capitalize well on the Tornado lift. Great follow-ups to the Tornado early on, for example, are Haze's Sleep Dart, Abrams' Charge, B-Box Hook, Paradox, as she can put a bomb on where the person is tornadoed, and then at the end she can get a free Carabine, so the people are stunned in place for a very long time. Warden's Cage, I think a lot of these combos are so strong that you can go Tornado first and get first bloods very often, especially now that the hero is still fresh and people are not respecting the Tornado enough. I think it is also just a very strong trading spell in dual lanes in general, as it guarantees for some free hits where the opponent can't escape. I think it also synergizes well with heroes that want to get into close range, for example, like Pocket or Shiv. In this game, I played with a Kelvin and we capitalized on the Pocket starting with minus 15% spirit resist and just killing him straight up with one Tornado plus Ice Beam combo. There was absolutely nothing the Pocket could do once the Tornado connects. In solo lanes against more ranged heroes, instead of going for Scarabs and Tornado, I like to go for Scarabs to push the lane early and then apply pressure with a passive, harassing the opponent and trying to go for denies instead. The plan is usually always to push the lane and harass, although I do sometimes prefer the lane to push onto our side, especially in dual lanes, as it enables the Tornado combos. If you win your lane, always look to teleport early in lanes that are pushed, as it can catch your opponents off guard and help your teammates with their lanes as well. In the mid to late game, Mirage's biggest strength is his global presence on the map. You can split push effectively and create scenarios where your team has superior numbers during the fights. I'll give you very simple examples of this. If you push yellow alone while the rest of your team gathers around the opposite side of the maps, threatening the two walkers on those lanes, the enemies are forced to either send someone to deal with you, while you can then join the fight and force a 6v5 on the other side, or the rest of the team can retreat while you kill a walker for free. This is of course a very oversimplified scenario, but it happens very often that you farm the outer lanes putting on pressure there to force a rotation. You can then teleport out to one of your teammates and help creating a 3v2 or a 4v3. No matter if you play spirit or weapon damage, the outer lanes are your favorite place to be since your ult is a perfect tool to get you out of most scenarios and you're not very good at clearing the jungle yourself. So creating pressure, farming laning creeps to then force your opponents to react, and then fight with your ultimate is the most common cycle of gameplay I have found so far, especially in mid-game. As for his strengths during the engagements, it depends a bit on how you build Mirage. But with most builds, his kit is great for long-range poking centered about his passive 3 ability. You can do a ton of damage over time, building up stacks from massive range. His gun fall-off is also not bad at all, so you're mostly a mid to long range hero later on. Earlier into the game, your 1 and 2 give you nice skirmishing capabilities, and I have even seen people go for more of a ganking and close-up style of play, going for items such as Headhunter, Point Blank and Hunter's Aura, using his 1 and 2 mostly rather than his 3 over time. As for his weaknesses, his biggest weakness is having no good flash farming abilities. He can't farm many creeps quickly since he has no AoE abilities and his passive doesn't deal damage quickly enough to farm, hence why you want to mostly farm laning creeps and heroes. It can also be very difficult to find good offensive teleports, as you can easily teleport into a bad position if you do it too aggressively. Keep in mind that it will take a second or two to orient yourself after teleporting. Good decision making right after teleporting can be very hard since you have to act quickly on very limited information. Before I get to my items in a second, I want you to know that Valve just released this hero and it can change quickly. I don't know how to play him perfectly yet, neither does anyone else after a couple of days, and I'm sure the meta is going to evolve rapidly in the upcoming weeks. I've seen a lot of players play around Surge of Power and Mystic Reverb, and I've also seen some Headhunter builds. My build recommendation revolves around Ricochet and placing your passive and a lot of other debuffs on the maximum amount of enemy heroes. This build scales really well into the late game and is pretty slot efficient, so here it is. It is called Mirage, Ricochet, Lambo in-game, and in the laning phase you just get a couple of items that make a lot of sense for him. I find that laning is pretty easy with him, so I don't often get Healing Rite or Extra Regen because of the Scarabs helping in the lane, although I do think Restorative Shot is just so strong right now that you can actually see the cooldown in the center of the map and you can always place it on heroes, which helps you sustain. Ammo Scavenger just gets a lot of spirit. Overall also helps with the ammo, obviously it's just a very efficient item. Monster rounds I have for being able to actually kill creeps. I find that really necessary on him. Then a couple of other very important items. I think Slowing Hex is fantastic. If you see some skirmishes on the side lanes or anywhere else, when you see there's a 1v1 or a 2v2 going on, you can teleport in and Slowing Hex the opponents right away, preventing them from escaping easily. So I think that helps. I think the item generally is really, really strong. Then Slowing Bullets combined with the general slow of Jin's Mark makes it also very difficult for them to escape. Withering Whip is really, really nice for duels. I find this a very strong item right now. It just got buffed a little bit, so it's very strong. Divine Barrier you can cast on yourself before ulting. It's also just generally good, plus it gives you some movement speed when you activate it. And you want to get Ricochet really, really quickly. After Ricochet, I go back to some other items. Duration Extender is really good on Mirage because all of his spells have some duration. It's the lift here, it is the health that you steal, the amount of time that you steal it for. Then this sticks for longer, the toxic bullets will stay for longer, they are slowed for even longer. The buff after you travel somewhere stays for even longer, etc, etc. Then once you have the Ricochet, you want to spread toxic bullets as well as your passive, as well as siphon bullets. Then Inhibitor, giving a minus 35% damage penalty as well as extra slow. And I think that's basically the core. And afterwards, I go into the Surge of Power, Boundless Spirit to deal even more damage, Mystic Reverb, maybe doing Mystic Reverb before this, maybe changing Spiritual Overflow. I haven't gotten into late game super often yet, so I'm not sure in which order exactly I get those. And the ones on the right are really just reactive armor items, so if you think your lane is hard, you get one of those. If you think you're dying against specific spirit damage over time, you get the spirit armor, otherwise you get the bullet armor or return fire. Return fire is also pretty good right now. Metal skin is really good specifically for Mirage, since you can metal skin and then get out. You can upgrade these, you can get debuff remover, which is nice. You can also unstoppable into TP. These are really just depending on the game, the green items on the right, and this is the core build that I almost build every single game so far. If I discover new things about Mirage, I will let you know in the description below, and if you guys have any additional tips or tricks or cool builds, please let me know in the comments. I don't think anyone is perfect yet with Mirage, and I believe the hero will still go through some nerfs relatively soon, so this all will be subject to change. I'll keep you all updated, and until then, maybe let me know which hero you would like to see a guide for next. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.